Cause I want you to take off the shoes, but don't be that, so take your time, baby. I want you to show me your moves, girl, oh, your back, so take your time, baby. I want you to get a long, 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 long time now. Take your time, baby. I wanna give you love, love, love all night long. Take your time, baby. Girl, you bring the sun yourself. Look how you stand out in the crowd. I know you smile when our eyes connect. Oh, 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 oh. The kind of girl that I dream about. With just a little bit of attitude. You're not easy, and the whole world gonna know. Right?
To the diesel, catch a fire, make it burn. Say a prayer anywhere you turn. If we not teach them how them a go learn. Yeah, leader them no concern. One know what them can't earn. Get the youth stand firm. When your lifestyle's like the matrix and you always just up in the latest. Travel go everywhere in a spaceship. How to get the youth if we relate with? Yeah. Make us step in up with shoe. Spanish down but we crew. Big up Elton Blue. At a road. When them a do when we not a road. Make them belly I get a fat a road. So we look and see say them a vagabond. Fight to the rights and the likes and the like. So make them fight to you. Take come light to you. Since them did the elegant. Yeah. Shame against my talent.
Light me up and at the gas station waiting. We are the ones on fire, got the whole world blazing. We are the fire, fire full of love. We are the fire, fire full of love.
Full of fire, yeah. Tell them what you buy, yeah. So we need more shelters for the homeless. So you add the niggas for your own. Get some million and put it on the road. A bit in your pocket and in your board. Listen to my old coming like a order. So just watch you go cover them nose, yeah. Fire, me come with the fire, me come with the fire. Burn them from my engine. But then I hear say we the people send me and we are action. Back with speech and then whoa, whoa. What them gonna do when we blow? Strategies overthrow. Yeah, them lights we up and we glow.
Light me up and at the gas station waiting. We are the ones on fire, got the whole world blazing. We are the fire, fire full of love. We are the fire, fire full of love.
More fire for the people, so them have it up in the heat. Youths them so we go on a road, and when them sick of it chopping in the vehicle. Tell them get all about and do not be stuck in the politics. The rich one get to poor and know what is this. After walking the out of them strategies, go do the damages. So we cap up like, work out and take up like a satellite. And we are full of love like we mother right. Show me sister kindness to my brother right. Cause we ever right, make we elevate, set the pace. We will run the place, load the dirty ways. Got the money chase, we know we face, fire we are blazing. So, where will we go? When the quarantine thing done and everybody touch road. How many gonna start? Pull up in a fast car, yeah. And a fast start, make you want the fast part, yeah. I know you're feeling me. You know I'm feeling you. So what now we for do? Yeah. Hey, fancy. Oh, your heart state, now no vacancy.
make them turn up. We gon' make them wine. We gon' make them free up. This is a bacchanal. This is the botanical. This carnival. I want you to find your way. Everybody on stage. Oh God, oh. If you're coming down from the mountain, oh God, oh. When we with the beats in the see me jumping on. This savannah grass. This savannah grass. You could see it from the distance. Oh God, oh. When the people tell you the kind of way, oh God, oh. Feel the spirit jumping in tongue. We coming up. This savannah grass. This savannah grass. We up with the sun, yeah. We take over town, yeah. We making the most, yeah. Today's not enough, no. It's love we feeling. Look, everybody reveling. Hey, they're ready to go, yeah. We gon' make them jump, we gon' make them turn up, we gon' make them wine, we gon' make them free up. It's the place of bacchanal, with that vibe so magical, this carnival. I want you to find your way, everybody on stage. Oh God, oh. If you're coming down from the mountain, oh God, oh. When we with the beats in the zone, see me jumping on. It's a fire crash, it's a fire crash. You could see it from when it was red, oh God, oh. Hello. Yeah, she had the thing I love. Where she from, I don't know. She wears and go low. The place like a dojo. So will you say, will you say, will you say? The girl, will you come my way? What you do, what you do, what you do? I must get through. Girl, roll up your waist, show me that wine. Turn around, girl, don't be shy. Hello, hello. Yeah, so girl, I love how the way you blow my mind. Hold me tight and bring down high. Hello. Are you ready? Are you ready for it? Are you ready? Are you ready for it? Come on, give me that. Hold up, wind it up, ride it. Front to the back, go long, just come to me. I'll give you that sweet type of love. Sweet type of love, come give me that sweet type of love. Real type of love, hold me darling. Cause one night we jamming. Yeah. Say she sweet like a mango. She play the thing like a banjo. Them other girl, them don't know how she rap the thing like a go-go. Lad. So will you say, will you say, will you say? Sexy girl, will you come my way? Now will you do, will you do, will you do? I must get through. Girl, roll up your waist, show me that wine. Turn around, girl, don't be shy. Hello. Yeah. So girl, I love how the way you blow my mind. Hold me tight and bring down high. Hello. Yeah. Are you ready? Are you ready for it? Are you ready? Are you ready for it? So I'll give it up. Hold up. Wind it up. Ride it. Front to the back.
Vanna in a dancehall style. I love you like mango. Better you give me some loving. See how far we can go. Imagine it be nice and something. But say me love you like mango. I better you give me some.
Okay. Pleasant good evening to all of our illustrious viewers and our esteemed guests. My name is Justin Scott, former investment manager of the Young Investors Club and an 876 Investor Executive. I would like to welcome you all to a very special event today, brought to you by our Rangers, a coalition of clubs and organizations here today devoted towards the development of financial literacy within the region. We're brought to you here today by the UWI Students Today, Alumni Tomorrow Club, the UWI Young Investors Club, and a motley of distinguished panelists who have joined us here today to work towards one common goal of championing Caribbean investment. So, towards that end, I will now be turning over to the presidents of these clubs, Ms. Ashley Onfroy and Mr. Christopher Gale, the Vice President and the President of the Young Investors Club, respectively. So we can continue on with our presentation today.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hi, it's really nice to see everyone this evening, and welcome to the UWI Stats and UWI Young Investors Club Regional Investment Forum. You know, it's a part of the wonderful plethora of activities that we have this week for CARICOM week, where we're championing regional integration and all things having to do with West Indian and Caribbean pride. As it was previously mentioned, my name is Ashley Onfroy, and I'm the Vice President of CARICOM Relations for UWI Stat Mono. It's my pleasure, and I'm extremely honored to have all of you here with us this evening, ready to learn about financial literacy, about this coined phrase, integrational wealth, and hearing from our wonderful panelists and presenters. So without further ado, I want to invite you to enjoy the program, tell a friend to join us here on Zoom, send them the link, they can register and come right in. So thank you again for being here with us this evening, and I do hope that you'll enjoy the program. Christopher Gale, it's now over to you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Gale. I'm the current president of the Young Investors Club. The purpose of this event is a medium for us to integrate, as previously mentioned. We're in such a global environment that everything is so easily available that information should not be such a thing that you cannot gain access to for various areas of life, especially when it comes to creating wealth. So this is here for you guys as a guide if you're a veteran to refresh your memory, and if you're a novice to spark your interest into integrational wealth, building your own future. So thank you for coming out. I hope that you will learn a lot of stuff and enjoy.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. You know how it is with technology. We're experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties, but in the meantime, I want to say thank you again. We now have 71 participants here with us in this Zoom forum. I just want to hear how you guys are feeling in the chat, because I know how it comes to, when it comes to money, everybody's excited because everybody wants to make that extra cash, that extra coin. So you want to learn how to do it, the best practices for regional investment or even national investment. So in the chat, go right in the chat, the Zoom chat right now, and let me know how you're feeling. Are you feeling happy? Are you excited? Are you intrigued? How did you even get to come to this forum? Did you hear it by word of mouth, or did you see it on social media? Did you receive an email? Let me know in the chat, as well as let me know which country you're coming from or which club or society you're representing. Awesome, Sandrine. I'm seeing that you are excited to learn about money. Love to see it. Love to see it. So just keep the comments coming in the chat, guys. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know which country it is that you are representing. Let me know how you came to learn about this forum as well. Someone says that they are hungry. Interesting. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing some of the comments coming in, so just keep them coming, guys. And let me know which country you're from too. I'm not going to just assume that everyone here is from Jamaica or from Barbados, because this is a regional integration forum. So you can be from anywhere in the Caribbean. Now, meanwhile, you're letting me know how you're feeling and where you are from. We will be having a breakout room feature. Yes, I know many of you weren't expecting that, but I know how it is when it comes to forums such as this. Sometimes we're a little bit nervous, a little bit uneasy. We want to interact, but we don't quite know how to. So we'll be learning how to do that this evening with the breakout room feature. We'll just get to interact with each other, learn about each other's likes, dislikes, interests, social media handles, opportunities for networking. Because of course, in this day and age, having the right contacts and networking is quite important. So we're just enabling the breakout room feature right now, where we will be having facilitators in each, either from UWI or from the UWI Young Investors Club. Now, these breakout rooms will close after 10 minutes. So just, use that time wisely to interact. So right now, everyone will have the opportunity to interact with each other as we enable the breakout room. So have fun, everyone. All right, Justin, over to you.
Okay, great. So, all right. So I see some people seems that they were having a little bit of issues with the breakout rooms, whether they didn't get to start speaking as yet, didn't get to understand exactly how to join or to make use of that opportunity at the time. But don't worry about it. You guys can always leave your questions in the chat and we can bring them up as the forum continues onwards and you can discuss any of the questions that you might have. And definitely somebody within this esteemed chat will be able to help you out, right? But as we all know, the breakout rooms and this forum overall is towards the development of financial literacy throughout the members of the region, throughout us as millennials, to make use of the time that we have before us right now. Because in my personal opinion, and in my relatively short time investing, I believe that now is one of the best times to make use of the opportunities before us and get investing, whether you want to be in stocks, whether you want to invest in stocks yourselves, would you like to go into a unit trust, or whichever vehicle personally matches your goals to get you to that level of financial independence that you're all seeking for, right? Okay, oops. Right. I see some things out in the chat. Okay. So some people have some questions as to how to start investing. And well, personally, before we get into that just any further, I think we can answer that question a little bit later. But before then, I'd like to get into the panelist sections because time is on the go. And so I'm turning over the introduction of the panelists to Ms. Sarika Crawford. Okay.
Good afternoon, or good evening rather. Mr. Leo Titus Perville is a program manager at the CARICOM Single Market and Economy unit based in Barbados. Mr. Perville assumed the position on September 1, 2020. Prior to that, he spent over 34 years as a public official with the government of St. Lucia, working across numerous central government ministries, as well as at the St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority, a statutory entity of the government. In his career in the public service, he served as Permanent Secretary of the Department of Labor, as the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Commerce, International Trade, Business Development, Investment, and Consumer Affairs on 3 separate occasions, and as Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation. Mr. Perville's career as a public official began in 1984 as an information officer in the Government Information Service. By 1990, he was appointed Chief Information Officer and had by that time attained a postgraduate diploma in mass communication from the Caribbean Institute of Mass Communication at the Mona campus of the UWI, and a degree in economics and management from the UWI. He completed his master's in economics in 1995 and served as an economist in the Ministry of Planning until December of 1996, when he was seconded for 5 years to the St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority as a Director of Economics and Research. He returned to the public service in 2001, where he spearheaded the development of the medium-term development strategy for St. Lucia and was assigned in 2002 to the Ministry of Commerce as the Director of Commerce and Industry until 2005. He was then appointed Deputy Permanent Secretary and in 2007 as Permanent Secretary. During the period as Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation, he served as a board member of the St. Lucia Tourist Board, LIAT, and chairman of the Finance Committee of the Eastern Caribbean Civil Authority based in Antigua. While serving as Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce, he served as a Director of on the board of the investment promotion agency in St. Lucia called Invest St. Lucia, was chairman of the trade license board, and was a deputy chairman of the trade promotion agency called Export St. Lucia. Apart from his work with the public service, he has also served as a tutor in the courses Introduction to Micro and Macroeconomics, Quantitative Methods and Managerial Economics between 1997 and 2008 with the University of the West Indies through the Open Campus program for first and second year students pursuing management degree programs. He also served as a lecturer for the Quantitative Methods course in the Postgraduate Diploma in Management program offered by the Kayville Campus School of Business. In his current position, he is responsible for advancing implementation of the CSME integration agenda. This calls for implementing initiatives to bring about the full functioning of a single economic space for the benefit of the people and the region. He is married and has 4 children. Please help me to welcome Mr. Leo Titus Preville. I will now turn over to Christopher.
Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. So, Ms. Simona Watkins is the Chief Executive Officer at NCB Capital Markets Barbados Limited, which is the wealth management, asset management, and investment banking arm of the NCB Financial Group. As the CEO, she has responsibility for Barbados and Eastern Caribbean operations. Excuse me about that. She has responsibility for the Barbados and Eastern Caribbean operations and has strategic oversight of the wealth management and investments and trading functions in the domestic market. She's tasked with accelerating NCB's regional expansion and fostering the development of the secondary market to provide investors in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean with greater investment opportunities, particularly through fixed income investments and structured finance, like bonds and equity financing. She has been employed to the NCB Financial Group for over 4 years with experience in the financial industry spanning over 15 years goals. She has obtained a BBA in finance from the University of Technology Jamaica and an MBA in business management from the University of the Phoenix. Simona is also a director of the Barbados Stock Exchange. So we welcome Simona, and for our next presenter, we'll have Sandrine to present them. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Mr. Julian Morrison is a financial services professional with 6 years experience. His knowledge spans investment strategy, economics, financial literacy, and research. Julian is the founder of financial literacy platform Wealth Watch Jamaica and is a Prime Minister Youth Award nominee in the category of Nation Builder in 2018 and an awardee in the leadership category in 2020. He's a member of the Global Shapers Kingston Hub, serving as a hub curator from 2020 to 2021, and is a former head boy of Arden High School, good school. Julian holds a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the University of the West Indies and is currently a CFA candidate. He is passionate about Jamaica's economic development and enjoys F1 racing, history, and playing keyboard. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Julian Morrison.
And we also have as a panelist with us this evening, Miss Melinda Bell, author, teacher, and financial consultant from an early age who has a particular interest in money. Businesses are often birthed out of business owners' personal experience, and it is with or through her mistakes, knowledge, and experience that she desires to see others make sound decisions with their money. Melinda sees her role as that of an architect and is committed to the shaping of financial landscapes of women, men, boys, girls, businesses, and nations. Melinda is the founder and managing director of A-Strap Finance Incorporated in Barbados, with a mission of being the leading financial education company providing resources and personal and business financial management in the Caribbean. It's with great pleasure that we welcome everyone and all our panelists this evening. Panelists, thank you for joining us. And Justin, over to you with the panel discussion.
Right. Okay, so let's just get firmly into this, right? So first question is, what is investment? Right. First question is, what is investment exactly? So in my personal opinion, an investment is observing value for tomorrow and putting the money down from today. Quite simple as that. It is making money work for you to further benefit you further down the line. There's another one of the panelists who'd like to interject and provide their own opinions on what they think investment is.
I can do that. I believe that it is the act of multiplying what you earn. You can't just simply put $100 down into an investment vehicle and expect that the money is going to grow over a period of time. So if on a monthly basis, you set aside that amount towards a particular investment vehicle, because I know we're going to talk about the different types of investment vehicles soon. But I really believe that investing is the act of retaining some of your money, because what we want to do is own money and keep our money. And with investing, that allows us the opportunity for us to pass down generational wealth. So that would be my take on it.
Well, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Right. Very good. Yes, just adding to the discussion, investment really is also what you might want to call deferred enjoyment of income today, in expectation that you would earn some income in the future. So in a sense, it is putting aside today what you have, and using the language of the first presenter, in a method of multiplying what you have to earn tomorrow. So you could have incomes from investments in real estate, income streams from investment in rental income, dividend payments. All of these are forms of income that is generated from an initial outlay, a deliberate initial outlay called investment.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for having me here. Just to add to what my colleagues have just said, I guess we're all going to be agreeing, but saying it in different forms. Investment is basically, just buying and selling of assets and being able to get a return, gain some kind of return on those assets. So just a simple form of buying a bond or a stock, and then being able to provide yourself or being able to get a gain on your investment, or that asset that you have purchased, is the simplest form of investment, of what investment is.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think I've got a pretty good understanding there. So I'll pose the next question to Mr. Julian Morrison. What is the difference between investment and saving? Oh, hold on. Can anybody hear Julian? Not hearing.
Not hearing.
Not hearing. Yeah. Well, still not hearing. All right. Well, in the meanwhile, Belinda, could you take on a question?
Sure. This is what is the difference between saving and investing?
Correct.
Yes. So there's a term called deferred current consumption. Now, don't be intimidated by it. All that it means is that you're setting aside money for saving late, for spending later, sorry. All right. So let's say, for example, you're looking to get a deposit for a home. So you would actually set aside that money for a deposit. If it's a 10% deposit or if it's a 20% deposit, you would do that. If you're looking to save money for emergencies also, should there be a life surprise that comes up suddenly, tire goes flat or somebody needs to go to the doctor, that would be considered the act of saving. With investing now, what you're actually doing, but even before you invest, the two go hand in hand, I would say, because you could actually save a particular amount of money that you would seek to invest later because you're looking to multiply it. So you would place it in different forms of investments, different instruments, shares, mutual funds, bonds, a business. So that's the difference. In that, with saving, you're just setting aside money for spending later, and then investing, what you're doing, as we rightfully said earlier, just multiplying, get a return on what we would have put in.
Okay. All right. The next question is, what are the different types of investments or the best types of investments available within the Caribbean region? So I think I'll pose this one to Ms. Simona.
Hi, sure, no problem. All right, the different type of investments, so in the Caribbean region, we don't necessarily have an expansive investment market like the international markets, right? But what we do have are, we have a very strong stock exchange in Jamaica. We have bond markets that we can capitalize on. We have the regional or the CARICOM space that we can capitalize on. So the different types of investing can range from, your typical shares in a company, bond either in a sovereign or in a company, or just your regular fixed income securities that you can look to benefit from. As it relates to best type of investing, no, with investing, there's no magic wand. There's no one size fits all philosophy. Investing is really looking at your individual circumstances. What are your goals? What's your risk appetite like? Because with every investment, you will have some levels of risk. You have to be able to sit with your advisor or a professional, and I would always suggest that you use a professional advisor to help you to make the best decisions when you come on to investing. Because as I said, it comes with risk. You have different goals. Your circumstances will have to determine how you invest, as well as your time horizon. I mean, this is an excellent forum for you young persons like yourselves to start now with investing. And you're not even too young to start your retirement planning, right? And so it is, while there's no one size and there's no best type, because it's all dependent on your individual circumstances, you can, however, take advantage of opportunities that are within the region that you can invest in.
Okay, and I know some of our, right, and I know some of our viewers here, especially young people like us, are wondering, okay, well, when do we go into stocks, or when do we go into bonds, or what is a bond?
No, well, right now is the time to get into the stock market. I mean, Jamaica Stock Exchange was voted, I think, the #1 stock exchange for 2 years in a row. There are so many different IPOs that come out on the market, initial public offers, whether it be through corporations or through the government, that you can take advantage of. And it's not just being a Jamaican being able to invest in the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Once you're within the CARICOM region, you have that opportunity as well. And I'll cite an example where actually our company, NCB Capital Markets, we listed the Trans-Jamaica Highway on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And that was a regional bond that was listed on the exchange. And so you'll have different opportunities in the stock exchange, but there also, again, as I mentioned, the bond market. So the bond market typically you can either have a company that is seeking to raise funds, and they would rather than being listed as a public entity, decides to raise this money out in a private offer, but you still have the opportunity to be a part of that bond offer. So company X wants to raise $1 million, and instead of going to the bank to get a loan, they decide to create a bond structure. Now, this bond typically comes at a different level of risk than a regular loan, and it gives investors an opportunity to buy into that company rather than taking the money from a bank. So there are different options, which I mean, and the bond can also be from a sovereign, meaning a country can issue a bond. So you can buy into your country as well. In recent times, Barbados we would have issued $100 million for the Barbados port. And this was for the development of the port. And so investors had the opportunity, average Bajans had the opportunity to invest in the Barbados port. So these are different ways that you can start looking at investing.
Okay. And one last question from Ms. Simona is, people are wondering now, okay, so a company has released an IPO, they have all these offers going on, but how do you know which stock is the right one for you? How do you analyze the stock, and what really makes the price go up?
Well, there are different market conditions that cause a stock price to go up. Stock prices can be very volatile dependent on the company, right? Depending on the issue. I would say for research purposes, rely on an investment professional. Do your own research, of course, to just know what the company is about. You know, what's the structure of the organization? Who are the board members? This typically help to determine, you know, the strength of the company, but also what is the money being raised for, which is most important. You know, you don't want to just invest money in a company that's seeking to raise money for raising sake. You want to know that this money is going towards the development of the company. And so that in itself should be your key factor, first decision factor. And then there are other areas, of course, that you have to look at, but stand guided by your investment professionals who can take you through the analysis process. But you want to be comfortable enough to know what is invest in this stock.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Justin?
Yes, Mr. Leo.
You call me Titus. Actually, my name is Leo Titus Prever, so you can call me Titus. Just to piggyback on what Simona was saying there, and Simona was speaking pretty much in terms of the financial markets. To give you a more real world sort of thing, not that what you were saying was not real world, but you could literally invest as a young person. And one of the investments I encourage young people to go into is into real estate, for instance, housing. A young person who is able to raise some funds, and you know, as a young person, and most of you on the program are young people, people get out of school, out of university, and the first thing they buy is a car, an expensive car, with no returns on it, only costs. Why not invest in a house, real estate? You are 25 or 26, and you've just taken a loan and you bought a house. Guess what? In 15 years, you would have paid that house back. But you now have residual income from that house, from rental income. Not only that, that asset would appreciate over time. And you now have an asset that you could leverage to raise further income. So my advice would be to young people is to look at investments that would appreciate in themselves over time, that you make that investment once and it generates income for you, which is residual income. And also you begin to look at investments in areas that are emerging sectors. For instance, and Simona would probably speak to that later on. Companies involved in renewable energy. The renewable energy sector is a sector of the future. So if you were to invest money into a company, for instance, whether it's for a bond offering or for shares, it makes good sense to look at investing in companies that are involved in business of the future. I would say that would always be a safe, well, not necessarily safe, but an investment in the future, and not a sunset industry or sector, but a sunrise sector. And finally, in terms of investment, I would go down to earth, Justin, and say agriculture. You know, we just had COVID. We're living in COVID right now. And from a regional perspective, speaking from a CARICOM perspective, one of our most important challenges now is food security as a region, as a people. And therefore, investing in land, investing in agriculture is a very, very serious. It does not only build a future for in terms of income, but you are actually investing in the survival structure of your region. So I would say also investing in land. Land itself appreciates, but what you do with that land, meaning the agriculture, is critical. And in agriculture, we're looking at both value added forward and so forth in agriculture. So I would say that these are a couple areas as a young person you may want to spend some time looking at. Doing all the due diligence, all the market studies, the horizon scans, you do that, but these are the areas.
Quick question, sorry. Is it okay to ask questions like this, or should I just type in the chat?
Ashley should.
Hi, we'd prefer if you type in the chat so that we don't interrupt anybody. So.
Okay, right. All right, Titus. I'm really glad that you brought up real estate and agriculture, because I know a lot of the people here are interested in that investment vehicle particularly. But we also have the question: how can we now explore the realm in the region? You know, whether it be agriculture or real estate outside of just our home country. Is there any insight you could provide towards that?
Great. So investing in the region, what does it take to invest in the region? Well, as you know, under the CSME makes provisions for a number of regimes. One of them is the free movement of skilled CARICOM nationals, movement of CARICOM nationals. But in terms of skilled persons looking for work, movement of skilled CARICOM nationals, and their approved categories. The right to establish a business, the right to move capital. So you can, in fact, invest in the real sector, in this case, agriculture or any of this, in any member state of CARICOM. So I'm not prejudicing any one country, but say Guyana, for instance, with its massive land mass and possibilities now of energy, fossil fuel energy, nonetheless. It makes good sense to look at investing in land or in companies involved in agriculture in Guyana. Why? Because the land mass in Guyana, the energy that will be made available for relatively low cost in the future, hopefully, and the economies of scale from producing in Guyana makes it possible now to produce and to share and to dispose of your goods within the region. Why? Because within the arrangements of CARICOM, we have free movement of goods in terms of no tariffs being levied on goods that are originating from within any member state of CARICOM. So once goods are originating from a member state of CARICOM, there is free movement in terms of no tariffs being applied. Also, within the region, we also have what we call a common external tariff, which actually provides a shield to a number of our sectors. So you have a certain degree of protection in your production within the region. So I would say, Justin, that there is opportunity both as an individual moving to seek employment. There is also opportunity as an individual CARICOM national moving your capital to invest in sectors in member states. Again, what I would advise you to do is to look at the local conditions, spend some time looking at the legislation, spend some time looking at the nuances in each member state of CARICOM, because legislation sometimes are not harmonized. So you need to look at each country, but in principle, you have the possibility of investing in any member state in CARICOM.
Justin, if you don't mind, I'd also like to add to what Leo has just mentioned. Investing in CARICOM countries, I mean, while all legislations may not be the same, which is important to know, one of the things you can look at is from where you have, for example, you have a Jamaica Stock Exchange, a Barbados Stock Exchange, EC Exchange. When you have countries with their own exchange, I think Guyana has one as well, you tend to find that withholding tax, there's a treaty within countries. So while Jamaica, for example, pays a 25% withholding tax on your investment. So you go to the bank, you put your $50,000 in the bank. At the end of each month, you're going to be charged 25% on the interest that you earn, right? So that is called withholding taxes. So if you're a Jamaican and you want to invest in Barbados, for example, and I'm saying Barbados because I'm in Barbados, familiar with that market, right? If you want to invest in Barbados as a CARICOM national, you are afforded the opportunity to invest free of withholding tax. So automatically you get to remove that 25% tax that you would have paid on interest earned in Jamaica, right? Now, in Trinidad, it would be different. The tax regime is different, but there's also a CARICOM treaty that usually has a tax levy that you don't pay. If you're being taxed in one country, you're not paying the same taxes in the next in another country. So this is how also CARICOM allows you to give a lot more flexibility in investing in different CARICOM states. So you want to invest in Barbados, you pay no withholding tax on your interest earned. I don't know, as I said, I can't speak to what it is in Trinidad. I think St. Lucia is 15% versus 25% in Jamaica. So it is good, as Leah said, explore your opportunities within the CARICOM region, because there are opportunities to even look at how do you pay less taxes. And you're young now, so you might not think about the tax now, but as your investment grows, it will start, you start looking and say, well, hold on, why am I paying so much in taxes? Right? So it's something that you want to look at. You guys probably would want to look at when you're looking at investment options.
Absolutely.
Can you hear me now, Justin?
Yeah, I can hear you, Julian.
Thank Jesus. All right, good evening again, everybody. So we can even look at the Jamaica Stock Exchange again, because there are investments that are on our market that are linked or tied to other Caribbean states. For instance, a company like Proven Wealth, they've actually started to invest regionally. They have regional exposure. They just invested in a company in Barbados, and they also have Basel Bank, which is in St. Lucia, I believe, and they have other investments that they plan to make. Even NCB Group, NCB has exposure to Trinidad and Tobago through its Guardian Holdings investment, and it also has the other bank that it's investing in. I can't remember the name right now. Help me, Simona. Come. NCB, jump in.
Clarion Bank.
Clarion Bank. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, man. Please forgive me for that.
No
So
problem.
yes, there are regional investment opportunities currently on our market. Another one is Epley Caribbean Property Fund. It's actually a fund that is structured like a mutual fund, and it's focused on real estate, just like what Leo said earlier. Sorry, Leo Titus, I want to get it right. It is a grand opportunity to look at how we can start small and build on top of that. So it's very good to look. Oh, you want me to type it out? Boy, you have to just jump on Google and Google it quick, man. Epley Caribbean Property Fund. I can put it in the chat. Yes, these are not investment recommendations, by the way. It's just to build on the conversation and for us to look on our market, because even though it says Jamaica Stock Exchange, it doesn't mean that all of the investment opportunities are constrained strictly to Jamaica. There are, in fact, regional opportunities right here.
Right. If not directly, then through the exposure through, for example,
right.
companies who have exposure to the different aspects of the region.
That's right.
Brilliant.
Someone just asked, how much would you need to start in order to start investing? I know here in Barbados, and I'm not a salesperson for this company, let me make it abundantly clear, but I know that Fortress here, what they do, they have mutual funds, especially what, what's your name? Julian just mentioned, If it is that you're not able to get into real estate right away in terms of purchasing your own property or in terms of purchasing investment property for, for rentals, definitely they have mutual funds that are geared towards they invest in real estate shares. So that's something that you could consider in the long term over a period of time. It's just a matter of doing your research and just looking at the different stock exchanges that are there, doing your own due diligence. I think that people aren't aware also that you should do these checks on your own as it relates to actually looking into the company. These are the different checks that I actually do recommend. First of all, do they actually publish their financial statements? So once they publish their financial statements, okay, that's a good check. The second thing would be to consider would be, are they audited? And all that audit means is that they're actually verifying that the transactions that the company actually performs are above board. So once you see that they're signed by the directors, and once you see that they're actually approved by the auditing firm, then you're good to go. Are they accountable to the Central Bank of Barbados, for example, or the Financial Services Commission, which is the regulatory body here in Barbados, just to make sure that everybody's actually operating above board. Because to my recollection, people who are in the insurance industry and those who are in the investment industry, they're supposed to report on a quarterly basis, the different transactions that occur within the company. So once you have those checks in place, then they would be considered viable companies to invest in. Because as a young person, when I was younger, I fell victim to a particular company because I did not do my due diligence. So in the long run, I had to end up with bonds, so to speak. But I think y'all know which company that is. I'm not calling any names. But the point is, you just need to know. And once they're transparent and they're accountable like that, then you're good to go. But it's important. That's how you do your research.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for some people would have been asking, those are some of the risks that are associated with securities, with assets in general, right? We buy these assets for the purpose of appreciation, but sometimes some hiccups come along the way, and that's where your advisor will come in, or your own personal due diligence comes in to really be able to pick up what these hiccups are along the way and to really avoid them and move on to a better investment vehicle, right? So actually I have one more question for Mr. Julian. For example, why do you think that the Jamaica Stock Exchange is doing so well, even though one would consider Jamaican's economy to be pretty slow paced in its advancement?
Okay, so this one is a bit loaded. So remember, the economy is almost like a machine, and a machine has several moving parts. So just because the entire machine might not be functioning optimally, it doesn't mean that there aren't aspects of the machine that are in good condition. So for instance, we might have a sector that might be growing at a certain pace. Some companies in the manufacturing sector, like Seprod, for instance, Wisinco, other entities, of course, they might be growing at a certain pace, but there are other elements that are in the economy on a broader scale that might offset some of the growth of these factors. So remember, I don't want to get too deep into the academic side of it, but I just want to share that the economy really and truly is very interconnected. And essentially, when we hear that economic growth is low, it doesn't mean that everything in the entire pot or the whole machine is malfunctioning. It just means that there are some aspects that are doing better than others, and sometimes the losers overpower the winners. So you get a very small nominal figure, but it doesn't mean that the entire machine has to be thrown away. So what the stock exchange does is that it allows us to invest in smaller parts of this bigger machine, and we can buy into opportunities that are doing very well in this big machine that as a whole might not be so great, but has aspects of it that are doing exceptionally well. So again, there are certain aspects of the manufacturing sector that is doing well. For example, food production, as you can see with Lasco Manufacturing, Wisinco, Seprod, they've been doing well over the past 3 to 5 years financially. They've been tapping into international markets. Another example is the financial sector. Financial sector has been developing at a very impressive pace. Right now we have low interest rates. So what that has allowed us to do is to help companies to access capital more cheaply. And when we increase the availability and the amount of capital, what it does is that it essentially fuels growth for other companies, which is why we've been seeing so many IPOs, and that has other knock-on effects, etc., etc., etc. So essentially, the financial market is a part of the economy, but the financial market is not the economy. They are separate, but they're related.
Okay.
And that goes for the international market as well.
And Julian, if I could just add to that as well, what you have also said, it underscores a point of being patient with your investments. A stock market is not something to jump into today, and you'll see that return almost next week because of maybe some spike in news that happens today. Be patient with your investing. There will be some of those that you'll get an IPO come out today and you see the rise in the price in a month. But if it falls, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to stay there, because market conditions do evolve and things will pick up again. But investing is not for the short term, right? So just remember that when you're thinking about your investments.
And if I could add, financial markets are governed by people's behavior. Simona was right in terms of saying, yeah, you're in it for the long term. If something happens and people are scared and frightened, well, what they're going to do, they're going to go and sell, all right? And then the price will go down. But if things are going great, and if people are feeling really confident about investing again, then they'll make more purchases and then the price will go up. So it can be fickle based on how people feel, but you don't want that to deter you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll pose the next question to Miss Ashley Onfroy. What does integrational wealth mean to you?
Okay, thanks for that, Justin. Let me first start by saying that I actually coined the phrase integrational wealth. Probably about, yes, Simona is laughing. I coined the phrase integrational wealth.
Sorry, Ashley, I thought I was going crazy. When I saw it, I was like, integrational wealth? But thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I know it probably threw off a lot of persons. In fact, some persons told me, Ashley, you made an error. It's not, you meant to say international, but no, I meant to say integrational, because one of UWI's mandates is definitely promoting collaboration throughout the Caribbean region and enabling youth to learn more about CARICOM. And we're really big on regional integration. So I figured that since we're speaking of finances, we're speaking of wealth management, wealth creation, investment, I figured we would create that or coin that term. So for me, integrational wealth is basically the essence of combining all the resources available to us as CARICOM nationals, and even just stakeholders who may not necessarily be members of CARICOM, pooling our resources together to create a very equitable, a very dominant and powerful, whether it be a trading block or just a community or an atmosphere for powerful investment, powerful financial literacy, powerful wealth creation as a region. Because, you know, we have several other, I guess you can say, socioeconomic and socio-political unions around the world, so like the UN and so on. But I figure that as CARICOM, if we can come up together and create a host of power and wealth creation as a region through integration, that would be very important. So that's my basis for coining the term integrational wealth. And I'm pretty sure that Justin would want some of our panelists to expound on what they think about that term or that phrase and what it means for them and how we can achieve that as CARICOM youth. Thank you.
Okay, so I know in the Caribbean we have a very strong emphasis on regulations and the role of government, which is good, but remember the government is just there to be an enabler, right? Their role is to make laws and to create the environment that essentially enables the different actors in an economy or a country on a whole to reach their full potential. So that's the thought process. They're really just enablers. The real action is in the private sector. Growth is private sector led. It is supported by the government, but governments typically don't grow economies. Economies are typically grown by private sector activities, supported by the growth of government. So then, within that frame or within that context, I think that the fact that our capital market, which the stock exchange is a part of, the fact that it has grown and started to include companies that are not a part of, not in Jamaica, I mean, that's a good sign. It means that we're becoming more integrated regionally, so that's a step in the right direction. We shared some examples earlier. More recently, I've seen the development of the Caribbean Alternative Investments Association, CARICOM. That's the name, right, Simona?
Yep.
So that their mandate, that association is really focused on looking at investments that are not publicly listed, right? So these are investments that are outside of traditional stocks and bonds and currencies. So it would be in certain real estate structures and distressed assets and infrastructure investments that are more difficult to access the smaller investors or what we would find through traditional channels. So it means that we are becoming more integrated already, and it's just for us to build on this. I think it's good for us to really find a way to be more creative in terms of how we can create business opportunities that are mutually beneficial. So we should use the capital markets to enable that. I think we're moving in the right direction. Maybe Simona can pivot from this, but
yeah. Just to add to what you're saying in terms of just using the capital markets, I mean, we look at alternative ways of investing, right? And you did mention about the regulators. Regulators are there for our benefit. And while the challenge that we may have as a CARICOM national is how do we ensure that we can integrate the regulation aspect of CARICOM, because you'll have one set of regulations for Barbados, another set for Jamaica, another set for the EC, and it makes it difficult for persons to be able to get into these markets. But outside of the regulators though, I touch on it, Julian, is the alternative kind of investing using the capital markets. Capital market structures are a lot more flexible in terms of funding solutions, right? Rather than a banking solution. You find that ourselves and Approven and the likes of Barritas and so forth are a lot more flexible in our approach to providing financing options to governments, to companies, which in turn then gives you, the investors, the opportunity to come in and to be a part of that investment structure. And I would have touched on it earlier, but it just helps to recognize that once we integrate like this and provide flexible funding solution, which by the way is critical to drive GDP growth. And when you think about it, we're a small Caribbean community, we're really not that big in the grand scheme of things. If we don't integrate, it makes it harder. We're basically trying to grow on our own. So Barbados trying to grow on its own, Jamaica trying to grow on its own. However, if we integrate, we find that we can leverage the strengths that we have, utilizing the capital market structure and helping to build and grow economies, while again, you are providing that kind of investment that is needed to help with this growth.
I find that really interesting that you brought that up, because that leads me to my question. Do you ever think there'll come a time where we'll have an integrated stock exchange?
Well,
for example,
it has been on the table now for some time. And I think 2 years ago, the Prime Minister Mia Mottley had mentioned it at the stock exchange conference in Jamaica. And I mean, there's merit to it, right? When you think about a Barbados stock exchange that is almost an inactive exchange, there's very, very few listings on the exchange. The EC is having its own, member state countries having its own, Guyana having a somewhat of a digital exchange, and Jamaica being this powerhouse. Why not leverage the capabilities that we have across the region and just have one integrated regional stock exchange? So I'm all for it. I think that is something that has been in the works for a while, but I haven't heard anything else from that.
Okay.
Well, if I could chip in there, just then if I could chip in there on that question, when I saw it, like perhaps most of you, I was wondering what the word meant. So I interpreted integrational wealth to be what is the wealth that will come out of integration. And of course, some of it has been already highlighted from a financial services sector, but from a real sector, you're looking at, with what we have done so far in CARICOM, is the creation of a single economic space for the conduct of business. And Julian is absolutely right. Economies grow when the private sector does well. It's not government that grows. Government is responsible for creating the environment. So we have created the space. And the truth of the matter is that if we look, and we should take some time to look at what COVID-19 has done. You see, when you look at the model of our individual member states and our trading patterns over the years, you know, we have not moved very far from our colonial days in terms of our trading patterns. Look carefully at whether you take tourism. Where is your source market? Outside of us, mainly in the metropole. When you trade in sugar and you trade in your commodities, where are you trading mostly? From the center to the metropole. We have created a system called CARICOM. This purpose is to deepen trade among ourselves, to make ourselves more self-reliant. So essentially, we have the opportunity now to deepen our integration process in the real sector by companies investing across the region in other companies, by companies producing goods and trading among each other, by people moving freely and providing services where they are needed. And this is the bedrock for what we will call building greater resilience, because essentially, once we go in these things as individual countries, our vulnerability is much higher, much, much higher. I use the Eastern Caribbean dollar, the central bank. None of the 6 member states that make up the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union could have on its own maintained a dollar, maintain a currency that would have some level of stability. But as the 6 of them came together, they formed one currency, the Eastern Caribbean dollar, and you have a currency which is perhaps one of the strongest in the world. It has served as a model for the Europeans. The point of the matter is, we have examples now where when people integrate, it leads to the creation of greater economic stability, which is the basis for the generation of wealth, the basis for the private sector to have confidence. So I see, Ashley, integrational wealth is a composite of the real sector, the private sector, doing things both in the financial market and in the actual real sector and producing goods and services. But more importantly for me, it is about how the most important resource in the region, the people of the region, can use the opportunity to share ideas across the single space, move across the single space, invest across the single space, and create wealth in that process. And that to me is the benefit of your concept of integrational wealth.
You're muted, Justin.
One second. Right. So for the final question that I'd like to ask all of our panelists so far to answer is, what are some essential tips that we as young people should keep in mind when embarking on investments and development of wealth creation?
I think some useful tips, very basic. Seek advice, professional advice. If you're sick, you go to the doctor and the doctor give you medicine. You don't just decide to just diagnose yourself, right? So seek professional advice is always important. Start early. I'm not going to say that you should be risk averse, nor am I going to say that you should take all the risk in the world. But the earlier you start, you get over the hurdles. Rather than buying a car, as Leo mentioned, it's probably best to look at what are some investment options that are available to me now as a young person, taking the risk now so that I can reap the benefits of it later. Have patience with your investment. I mentioned that before, making sure that, you know, once you're going into the stock market, the bond market, you know, these are some of the things that you, or real estate market. I mean, I quite frankly agree with Leo. I love the real estate market when in my younger times and seeing the benefit from it as I got older. So, you know, just be patient with your investing and look at regional opportunities. I think Julian also mentioned that there are so many of them out there that we can look at taking advantage of, but it's important that you do your research and keep your ears to the ground. In the morning, to scan your newspaper, you look for what is happening in the financial sector. If this is where your interest lies and you want to invest, you have to start doing the work behind it as well. So that when you approach your advisor, you can know that you come with your own knowledge and your own thoughts behind what it is that you want to do. So that would be my basic tips when it comes on to what you should do when you're investing.
If I could say also, it starts with knowing what it is you want out of life. And you don't need to feel pressure to have all of the money right away. I always tell people you don't need to have money in order to have a financial plan. How so you know what to do with your money when you finally get it. But you do need income to fund your financial plan. No, sometimes we have a great vision for our lives and we feel so pressured sometimes that everything has to happen all at once. That's not going to happen. So what you could do, you could break down your goals into these 3 different types. Short term, which occur within a year or less, intermediate term, which occur within 2 to 5 years, and long term, which occur over the 6+ years. Now, once you have an idea of where it is that you would like to go, these goals, which ideally make up your financial map, your money map. And the best way in order to ensure you actually accomplish your goals is via a budget, because a budget is really key and crucial, especially if you want to ensure you're investing your money. Ideally 10% of your income the minute you start working, because you do not want to incur debt. I mean, I understand in some instances, some of y'all may have student loan debt to service. I would hope that you would not have gone into credit card debt at this period in time, but just think of these percentages: 10% to invest as a start. As Simona rightfully said, now is the right time. And then in addition, you want to make sure that you do not have more than 35% of your income tied up in debt, because you want to ensure that you're able to accomplish other financial goals. So even if you're not able to take on a huge investment right away, you could start really small. Mutual fund accounts you could open for 50 US. Let me use the common currency that we all know very well. 50 US, you could start there. Then if you're looking into larger investments in the future, you can make sure you save that money so that you'll be ready for investment opportunities. And even outside of taking a salary job and using that money to invest in different investment opportunities, shares, bonds, whatever is available, maybe some of y'all might want to look into actually having a business. A business is also a good way to actually invest your money. But the key to that working is that you make sure you invest in an asset that will make you money. Tiny things like a mixer for making cakes, and a popcorn machine that you rent out, or a car, but you can rent it out in that sort of way. So those things you could think of, but it all comes down to managing your money. And once you have a good handle on it, you're good to go. But just remember that budgeting is a lifetime practice, but really including your plan, having investment. But like I mentioned earlier, just make sure that the companies check out, seek a professional who can guide you, and you'll be good to go.
Okay, so I will I'll build on what was shared earlier. So I would just say it's very important to focus on the time factor in investing, because we invest because of the time value of money. And it's really saying that a dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow. We all understand that. And there's a very massive emphasis on getting the money and getting the money now. However, we have to think about investing across the time horizon. So it is not so much how rich can I get now or tomorrow, but what do I want 40 to look like? Because I'm sure everybody on this call, if you're not at 40, you intend to reach 40. So what do I want 40 to look like? What do I want 60 to look like? What do I want 80 to look like? So it's about putting the goals into that context and to work our way back to the present incrementally, building steadily, step by step, in 5-year increments, 10-year increments, or whatever the case may be, because what really allows wealth to accrue and to build and to grow is time. It's time, given that you are positioned in an asset that has good economic characteristics, it's in a good industry, it's under good management. Time is the master, the time will do the rest. There's really no shortcut around it. Also, I don't believe there is a silver bullet when it comes to investing. So there's this one thing that will make you rich tomorrow. So there's a lot of ticket and you need to get it. It's really about having a multifaceted plan. So where do I want to go in my life? Again, what do I want 40 to look like in terms of my career? What does the future look like? Do I want children? Do I want to live in a foreign country? Do I want to be in and out of Jamaica? Do I want to be a major real estate investor? Do I want a mix? So it's all about putting these things into context and making the necessary steps. Because the truth is, skills, that's a part of your investment portfolio, right? A stock is not going to replace the skills that you need to have to generate an income. You have to use your skills to generate an income and use a part of that income to put into stocks and the bonds and the real estate. So it's a package, right? And investment is not just about financial investments. Education is a part of that. So how do we invest in human capital to build skills, to then generate an income, to then put into financial instruments? So it's really a step-by-step process and putting everything together instead of looking for that magic investment that's going to make me rich in February and March and June of 2021.
But in terms of my comments on this, I think there are about 105 people on this call right now. And I think most of them are young people. Most of you are young people. I think you've already started. You started already. You're in the right place. Networking, a fundamental thing. You must surround yourself with people who are of the same ilk. You know, if you want to be a great basketballer, you don't join persons who do something unrelated to basketball, you know. So the first step for me always begins, and John was made the point, it's about the human being, about you. So you need to surround yourself with people who are thinking along the lines that you're thinking. So you need to examine your environment very carefully and maybe do some streamlining of your company. You need to save. It's difficult to invest if you don't save. And I think Melinda was making the point that you cannot spend everything you have. You need to save to have a basis to begin a discussion with anyone, whether it's the bank or in terms of investment. So my advice is, as little as you earn, you need to save some from it. You need to then and have a plan as to where you want to go. You need to surround yourself with the right people. That means you need to do the proper networking, because you may not have all the answers. None of us do. But if you have the right network with you, and that could be friends, that could be family, that could be total strangers, but you need to have the right network with you to give you the right advice along the way. And lastly, I would say, as you consider investing, if it is all about you, then I don't think it is the right investment or the right approach to investment. it's all about other people, really. It's about how can I do something that will help so many other people become better? You see, many times people find themselves caught in the process of trying to make themselves get rich. And they work so hard at it. And at the end of the day, they may not, and they may be sad. But what I have found is if you work hard in helping so many other people get successful, you actually get successful yourself, which is a major form of investment. And that investment is investment in building equity that is not just in you, but it is in the network you have around you. So I would advise you young people as you consider investment, consider, yes, the real, yes, the financial, but also look at the human aspect. And it cannot be all about you. It has to be about us. And from a regional perspective, an integrational perspective, it's about what can I do to make my space and my neighbor's space a lot better today. And I think if we begin to think of those questions, you begin to make the right decisions in terms of the investments you make.
You know, Leo Titus, I think that's a powerful point, and I think a lot of where we can go has to do with how we address culture, because a lot of what you just shared ties into culture and mindset. And I think, for instance, a big part of why certain economies in Asia are growing so rapidly is because of that mindset. It's not just about me and trying to eat a food and so on. Yes, survival and profits are important, but it's about the bigger frame, the ecosystem, the family, and how is my family connected to this family, and then it has a multiplier effect, and that is very powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to thank our presenters right here, Ms. Simona, Melinda, Titus, and Julian, for the esteemed, and it's been brilliant advice they've been giving us here in the different ways how investments work, the different avenues you can go through, whether at home or abroad within their region. And it's been great. But don't leave just yet, guys. You guys are in for a treat further on. So we actually have another presentation by Mr. Jordan Luck coming up soon. But we also have a giveaway. And I'll turn over to Mr. Christopher Gale to really announce how the giveaway goes. So Christopher?
I am here. So good day again, guys. So we actually have two giveaways right now. And the first thing that I want you guys to make sure of is that when you're doing, you get us to contact you through our email that will be provided to you. Now, the first giveaway is that we want you to leave a comment about how your experience thus far is on the meeting. How is it for you thus far? I want you to go to the Young Investors Club in Instagram and comment on our latest post. So the person who will be selected by this randomizer will be winning a $25 gift card from Amazon. Now, go ahead and do that. We're giving you about 2 minutes to do that. And within that 2 minutes, the next giveaway is for some brave soul to come and speak on what they have gathered from this interaction just far. So make a summary of all the things that you've learned from this panel. So the first person to open their mic and start speaking will be, and give us something substantial, will be the person who wins.
Okay, I learned that investment is not something that's overnight. You have to wait on it, and I also learned that it's sometimes with people. The market is dependent on people. I learned that as well. So, but we shouldn't be discouraged because of that.
Is there anything else? Okay, Giovanni raised his hand. Would you like to expound or give us your take on it?
Hi. Basically, I'm going to play off of what Jules said as well as insert something that really stuck with me. I think Melinda was the one who said it. Thank you for that, Melinda. But she had spoken to us about the security that we need to take when it comes on to investing, um, doing audits, the due diligence that we have to put into actually investing in certain companies. She shared her experience with one company that she chose not to um, expose at the time, but publishing the little key things that we need to look out for, like the company publishing their own financial statements to the public, and if they're audited and stuff like that. And I loved the compilation of things that Mr. Leo Titus had given us about, agricultural investments and real estate investments, and how, all of that just amalgamated into my mind how easy it is. Well, let me not say easy, but how doable it is for us to be investing as younger people. So yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, well, that was actually very good. Well, both are very good. And you know what? I'd like to make this a little bit spicy. I'll ask both. I'll ask all of the panelists to choose which person summarized the best. So between Giovanni and the first speaker.
Giovanni.
Giovanni. Anyone else?
I also had a summary, but I just didn't remember how to raise my hand, to be honest.
Okay. So, well, I guess both persons will be getting the prize. So, just we'll send you our email and you can speak to us about it. Now, for the second prize, or rather the third prize now, we'll be using, well, this randomizer. Hope you can see. It's loading. Just give us a minute, there's some technical difficulties. All right, so we'll be using this.
Christopher?
Hello?
Hi,
Are you?
yes, since we're having some technical difficulties, I suggest, no, we're not finished. We're not finished. We still have two presentations. I suggest that we transfer to Justin and he will introduce our wonderful presenter, Mr. Jordan Luck. So everyone stay on. We will get to the two giveaways soon after the presentation. So don't leave just yet.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So moving steadily along, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jordan Luck. He's a third-year undergraduate at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada, where he's pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Commerce with a specialization in finance. He's had experience working in both Jamaican and American commercial banks, working in investment banking with a primary focus on the sale of multi-family properties. Today, he'll be presenting for us simple tips for young investors, what we should know and how we can move forward and how we can move forward towards generational wealth. Jordan, on to you.
Justin, thanks for that intro. Should I just share screen?
Yeah, share the screen. Go ahead.
All right, guys. So first, I just want to start off by saying thank you for having me. And it's been an absolute honor to speak on this conference with such insightful guests. And also a big up Ashley for connecting me with this one. So I just want to start off by saying that I'm just a regular college student studying at school in Vancouver. I'm no genius or no investing expert, but I'm just a guy who's developed an interest in investing over the years. And today I'm going to take the time to tell you guys a little bit about what I've learned as a completely non-professional young investor. So for all those professional insights, I mean, we had some amazing panelists, and we're going to have some more amazing speakers coming up next, so stay tuned for that. So before we get into the detail of the presentation, I just want to ask you guys, have you ever invested in anything? How about investing time into your school books so you can have a better future? Or even investing effort into your exams so you could get a higher grade? And if you think about it, we're really all investors in one way or another. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the concepts, about using these concepts of investing that you've probably been using all your life and apply them to your money. So what is investing? Well, according to Forbes, investing is the process of buying assets that increase in value over time and provide returns in the form of income payments and capital gains. And remember those two things because we're going to talk about them a little bit later in the presentation. So as you guys can imagine, things that you can invest in, you have real estate, the stock exchange. I mean, maybe you want to invest into your relationship or invest time into yourself. But the concept is pretty much allocating resources in a way that allows these resources to develop and grow value for you over time. So one thing I want to clarify really quickly, I feel like there's some confusion about this, but shares and stocks, those terms are often used interchangeably. And when companies want more money, they can sell shares or equity. And what this means is equity is like a piece of a company. So owning a share is like owning a piece of a company. And sometimes these companies decide to compensate their investors by paying out dividends. And these dividends are shared proportionally to shareholders. So I'm sure that you guys have seen some of those crazy online charts or heard how you have to read 1 million books just to become a successful investor. And yeah, maybe these books are helpful and maybe these courses are helpful, but today I've kind of tried to trim it down a little bit so I can give you guys some of my key takeaways. And yeah, I hope they help you. So all of you guys are gathered here today to better yourselves or at least learn how to do so in one way or another. So I'm going to give you guys some essential concepts and maybe even shortcuts to successfully investing your money in today's environment, especially as a young person. And even if you're not closely following along, I want your guys' brain to at least get a little bit of a jump start in regard to the investing world. So as you can see on the slide, I'm going to talk about the importance of understanding risk, some ways to spot deals and find value in your investment process. And then I'm going to talk about the importance of being a student of the game, as I'm going to refer to it. And then to close off, I'm going to talk a little bit about how investing has changed over the years. So in finance, risk refers to the degree of uncertainty degree of uncertainty inherent in an investment decision. And we kind of break it down into two categories. We have systematic risk, and this is like an inherent market risk. It affects the market as a whole, and they're pretty much unavoidable. And we say that these type of risks cannot be diversified away. The reason why they can't be diversified away is they're caused by macroeconomic factors. So for example, interest or inflation. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have unsystematic risks. And these are risks that can be avoided. And we say that they can be diversified away. And this is because they're due to more microeconomic factors, like at the individual level. And one thing you guys are going to hear me reference a little bit later is standard deviation. And all this is a mathematical way to define risk in investing. So I'm going to give you guys a little example here, and I hope nobody gets offended. I really do. So nowadays with COVID and the 8 p.m. curfew, it might be a little bit difficult to see your significant other after nighttime. And this lack of time together might damage your relationship. But we consider this a systematic risk. There's no way to avoid it. And you have to just bear with it and just play your cards accordingly, no matter who your significant other is or how many you happen to have. On the flip side of this, we have an idea that your significant other may get sick or they may need to fly out for a family emergency. If you think about it, these are on the more individual level and are examples of unsystematic risks. And we can really get rid of these, but how do we do that? Through diversification. Why not get another significant other, or two, or three more? If one gets sick, what are the chances that the rest of them are going to get sick? That was a joke. Don't go cheating on your significant other. But the concept behind it is that individual assets will fall all the time. A company you invest in might be caught for fraud, or a rental property you purchase, it might have a leak. These things are inevitable. But to negate the effects of these faults, you can diversify. And a quick takeaway I want you guys to leave from with this is that diversification benefits are maximized when your assets are negatively correlated. So if one goes down, the other goes up, one is up, the other is down, and it creates like a seesaw effect, so it kind of balances out. And this is just a fancy way to calculate the risk of your portfolio, but we are not going to get into that. So according to modern portfolio theory, you'd pretty much achieve the most optimal level of risk after adding about the 20th stock in your portfolio. So the average standard deviation, which we refer to as a measure of risk, the average standard deviation of a single stock is about 49.2%. But with a portfolio of 20 stocks, this risk is actually less than 22%. So that's a pretty significant reduction just by diversifying. And because unsystematic risk can be diversified away, the market does not reward investors for taking on unsystematic risk, and only systematic risk is rewarded. And this kind of leads to one of my favorite sayings of all time, risk it for the biscuit. And this graph pretty much shows the concept of risk it for the biscuit. It's called the capital asset pricing model. And what it shows is that there's a positive correlation between your expected return and the systematic risk you're willing to take on. So pretty much what this says is the more risk an investor is willing to take on, the higher their expected return is going to be. And for the takeaways of this presentation, I'm going to kind of color code them. So green is going to be the easiest, and then yellow, which is in the middle, and then red, which I think is the most difficult. So obviously we need to be able to differentiate between systematic risk and unsystematic risk. We also need to know that investors are only rewarded for taking on systematic risk, because unsystematic risk can be diversified away. And lastly, we need to remember that concept behind the CAPM model, that the more systematic risk an investor is willing to take on, the higher they expect. On to the next concept. And this revolves around spotting deals and where to find value. So a nice little Warren Buffett quote, price is what you pay and value is what you get. And if you think about it, we generally consider a deal to be good when we perceive the benefits of obtaining something to be higher than the price that we pay for it. So in this little segment, we're going to talk about the types of returns and valuation methods. Boom. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys remember, but at the beginning of the presentation, I hinted that returns come in the form of income payments and capital gains. And here in this slide, I have them kind of divided up nicely for you guys. So on the income payments end, we have interest and dividends. So interest is what you get for lending money to somebody, so often in the form of debt. So for example, this could be maybe you lend your friend some money so they can buy a house, and you're going to be paid back that initial amount that you loan, plus whatever additional fee you want to charge. And this additional fee can be thought of as interest. I don't know if you guys have also heard about buying bonds, but when you buy a bond from a company or a government, you're essentially giving that entity a loan, and that loan will give you in turn an interest return. Some things to note about interest: they're the least risky, but they also provide the lowest returns. On the other end of the income payments category, we have dividends, and we touched on this a little bit in the intro for the presentation. But dividends are pretty much what the companies decide to pay investors for giving money to the company in the form of buying shares. So as we talked about, when you buy a share, you're pretty much buying a piece of the business, and these shares will often pay out dividends. Now, some important things to take away from dividends is that they are not guaranteed. When you buy a share that says that they issue dividends, that you're not guaranteed to get a dividend every time. And also, dividends can be extremely variable. You can get a high dividend one month and a low one next month. And on to the more easy side. In my opinion, this one is easier to learn, but the concept of capital gains. And this is the profit on the sale of an asset that is increased in value. So what you want to do to earn capital gains is buy an asset that goes up in value. And capital gains are said to be realized when you sell an asset. So for example, if you were to buy a house for 1 million and then sell it for 2 million, the capital gain would be 1 million. Okay, I hope we're all clear on that stuff. And now on to valuation methods. And we're just gonna briefly touch on financial analysis and technical analysis. So financial analysis revolves around taking numbers or information from financial statements and putting this information into equations and ratios to make sense of it all. And really, we can talk about these ratios for hours. I mean, there's hundreds of different analysis ratios that people use, and different investors will apply these ratios differently. I'm going to tell you a little bit about one of my favorite ones, which is on the slide here. It's called the price to earnings ratio, or PE ratio. And what this ratio tells you is what the market is willing to pay today for a stock based on the company's past earnings. So the historical average for P&E ratios of the S&P 500 is between 13 and 15. But this is extremely variable and really depends on stuff like the current market conditions, depends on the industry of a particular company, and it depends on the company itself. So for example, I have Apple here. Apple has a PE ratio of 35.17. And how you can kind of frame this in your mind is that investors are willing to pay around $35 for $1 of Apple earnings. And a takeaway here is of course you want to use ratios to look at yourself and do your own intrinsic analysis, but I find that what many investors use them more so for is to compare them between industry peers. So you'd find the PE ratio of Apple, which is 35.17, and maybe compare it to the PE ratio of Microsoft and then Samsung and so on. So that's kind of a key use of financial ratios right there. Now on to technical analysis. And this one, it really involves looking at graphs and charts and using various techniques to analyze the movement of the price and kind of predict where it's going to go. And some companies actually rely on technical analysis. For example, Renaissance Technologies is a company that has been extremely profitable over the past couple of years. And it pretty much only relies on technical analysis. So this shows that technical analysis is a viable way to spot deals. I don't know if you guys want to take a picture, but on the slide here, these are some of the most popular technical analysis techniques. So takeaways from this. You guys have to remember how value is created, or how you earn that income. Through interest, dividends, and capital gains. And then the concept of technical analysis, so looking at charts. And finally, financial ratios. And I think this one is the most difficult because you kind of need to understand financial statements and be able to compare them to industry peers. So I know the last two parts were pretty technical, and I know that although they're 100% fundamental, and I recommend revising them, there's kind of a way to surpass all that. So for all the audience members that I've lost, or all the guys who are bored or you're intimidated by this content, or you're just garbage with numbers, I think now's the time where you probably wanna listen up. So onto the concept of being a student of the game. I know some of us really hate to admit it, but there's people out there who know way more than you do. And humans have the unique ability to pass down knowledge. If you believe in evolution, that's kind of what differentiated us from apes. We were able to build tools and then pass those abilities down, and that's how we got to where we are. So we have the unique ability to learn from other people, and importantly, learn from other people's mistakes. Where do you think this guy got his style? You think the man just had a dream and woke up and created his style all by himself? No, I would assume that the man took inspiration from those who came before him who were considered great. He was a student to the game. So be a student of the game. And this doesn't even just go for investing. This goes for anything that you want to be good at in your life. You need to study the game, and you need to study the rules, and you also need to study those who are best at it. So this is actually a true story. One time I was at a dinner party, and one of the most successful value investors in the Caribbean, he actually just gave me this list of names and told me to study these guys. And I'm not going to sell out who it was, but this guy definitely knows what he's talking about. So if you want to take notes of some of the investing greats, these are your guys. And now on to our learning materials. I mean, obviously we have stuff like our books, The Intelligent Investor. This is a smash book. We have podcasts. I like this podcast too. just something to passively listen to. Maybe you're on a walk or you're in a car ride or so and so. And then we have YouTube videos. And I personally relied the most on YouTube videos. And fun fact, when I was preparing for this presentation, I just searched up Jamaica investor YouTube video. And within 5 minutes, I was able to learn about how I could buy US stocks as a Jamaican citizen. So yeah, take advantage of those resources. So takeaways from this part, this is easy. Study the rules, study how the game is played, and study the best. And also you want to take advantage of those easy to access learning materials. And that kind of segues into the next point I want to make. I'm sure all you guys have heard this a million times, but times have changed. And the world around us has changed, and definitely so has investing. We live in the informational age, and I know you guys have all heard it before, but you can pretty much do it all from just a small device in your hand. I'm sure lots of you guys absolutely bun class, but still manage to learn the materials by doing your own research, doing your own Google search. So it's easy to learn about investing in the same way. And if you think about it, there's going to be more quality resources about investing than they're going to be about the anthropology of gender or whatever electives you guys are deciding to study. And also, there's platforms out there like Robinhood, or one I personally use when I'm in Canada, which is Questrade. And these let me do market research and execute investment decisions. I could be in my underwear on my bed, not even brush my teeth for the day, and I can be executing investment decisions just off my phone. Apps like Yahoo Finance, they let you look at the company financials. They give professional insights, which is what we were talking about earlier. And I can even look at conversations from other investors like myself on the platform. I know lots of you guys might be saying, like, oh, that doesn't help me. There's no Robinhood down here. That stuff doesn't apply down here. And yeah, there might not be a Jamaican Robinhood. And a little sidebar, I spoke to my financial advisor a couple weeks ago, and she told me that this stuff is on its way down here. But there doesn't have to be a Jamaican Robinhood. I mean, we have access to resources like the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I don't know if you guys have ever logged on there, but you can access all your market data, and you can also get professional analyst reports, and resources that exist out there like the Caribbean Value Investor. So we really don't need Robinhood, but it would be a nice addition. So if anybody important is listening, make a Robinhood down here. Beyond that, there's firms like Victoria Mutual Wealth, and these guys publish professionally analyzed stock picks. This is a company that makes a lot of money and have real professionals who get paid to analyze stocks. And at the click of a button, I can just search up the top 5 Jamaican stock picks for 2021, according to these guys. So, do you guys really think that we had access to this quantity or quality of information 15 years ago, or never mind 20 or 30 years ago? Probably not. We were writing slips and sending them in the mail when we wanted to execute a trade. Or we were buying the Observer to read financial and reading the financial section to get our market data. Now we can just log into the JSE. So takeaways from here, we have resources nowadays that allow us to get by without even thinking that much. If I was a mindless investor, I could just go onto the Victoria Mutual website and just buy all the stocks that they told me to. And I'd like to think I wouldn't do that bad. So that's pretty much all the stuff from the core of my presentation. But just to conclude, I want to leave you guys with some of my personal young college guy key tips. By no means am I a professional, but some of my personal key tips. So firstly, stay up to date. Know the current technologies and know the current events, and look for investments that fit into the current trends and adapt to these trends. Also, take advantage of the online resources. There's a universe of information that can be held within your hands. And you can have access to what professionals say at the click of a button. Ignore your emotions and stay cool. Don't make investment decisions off your mood. And don't panic when things are not going your way. There's a quote out there that says markets are manic depressive. So sometimes if it spikes down, it might just spike up. Something else we talked about earlier in the panel, we are young. Well, I'd like to think the majority of us don't have kids. I'd also like to think the majority of us don't have any crazy responsibilities. I'm not telling you guys to be reckless, but we can kind of afford to risk it for the biscuit at this age. Also to add in there, think critically. Don't just do what people tell you. Apply what you know and consider external opinions and recommendations. So think critically. I think one of the most important takeaways from here, thoroughly understand what you are investing in. Know the investment as well as you possibly can. Think about how the investment makes money and how it fits into the bigger picture. Where does the investment create its value? Lastly, be patient. You're probably not gonna win immediately. And another quote, another big saying by Warren Buffett, he says that the stock market is a device that transfers money from the impatient to the patient. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for the time. Again, big up Ashley for hooking me up with this presentation. And yeah, I think now is the time. We have like 5 minutes of questioning if I did not go too far over time.
That's right, that's right. Great. So we have enough time for just a couple questions from the audience. So if anybody has anything they'd like to ask Jordan, anything about investing, or some of the experiences, anything you guys have to ask, you can ask in the chat.
Now I'm gonna just unshare the screen real quick.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, let's go. Shoot some questions. Oh, I didn't even see these comments. That's very nice. No question.
Great presentation, bro. Very in-depth, you know.
Thank you, thank you.
Let's see if anything came up in the chat recently.
What are, all right, so Ashik, am I saying that name right? What do you think are some common investing mistakes as a starter? Well, I could tell you a pretty common one again among people my age. I feel like, especially nowadays, like in the COVID pandemic, the markets are ridiculous. And that's not only abroad, that's down here as well. And I think a lot of the times people are quick to jump on an investment, and then like, especially now, you might just wake up in the morning and just see a fat negative 30%. And your first thing is, oh, let me just cut losses. But no, sometimes you just have to understand, like we said, that's just part of the market. It goes up and down. So you just have to be a little bit patient and just don't lose your wits when stuff gets a little bit crazy.
Sometimes it's time to buy the dip.
Exactly.
Yes, come up. Okay.
Well, I know that I think Paula had a question. She had her hand raised. So she may want to raise it again to ask a question.
That's my grandma.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hi, grandma. No question.
Another question is, all right, so you might have
I didn't plug VM. I didn't plug VM. My dad just showed me that resource the other day. I was not plugged, but I mean, good resource.
So,
yeah, that is right, Kimari. GameStop. I have a couple of friends that jumped onto GameStop and they just did not have a good week.
yeah, that's I think that's a great learning experience for a lot of people going into stocks. You know, don't invest money that's, you know, your life would be over if it doesn't go out your way, or like if the moment it starts to go down, you jump over, right? Don't buy into the hype.
Yeah.
Don't buy into the hype.
Do your own analysis, like really think about why did GameStop go up? I don't really think that's a valid reason to jump onto it. I mean, if you want to be part of the movement, I guess, but.
Okay, so I think I'll pose a question to you. Like, what are some things that you look out for when you're heading into investing into stocks personally? Something that the guys here can learn from.
Something that I do when I'm about to invest in stuff. Well, Well, obviously, because I'm no professional. Like I try to find as much professional insight as I can, like use the resources, and then because a lot of the times I feel like I'm probably one of the more like risky investors. So I'm investing in really small stocks that don't have that much about them, and that's the same thing with the Jamaican Stock Exchange. I mean, like if you're investing in the junior market, there's really not that much information published on it. Like you can just see the financial statements and etc. So I really just do as thorough of an analysis as I can and try find similar companies that have a lot of professional insights. So for example, the other day I bought some, I don't know if you guys know about the company, Elite Diagnostic. Yeah, you guys have heard about that? Yeah, and there's pretty much nothing about that. So what I guess what you do, what I did is just go through the balance sheet and compare it to some companies that are abroad that have kind of a similar layout, and then kind of make a decision off that.
Okay. Well, that's a great idea, man. Especially in a young market like ours, we really started the junior market. Actually, junior market started less than, I think it was in the early 2000s, while the whole Jamaica Stock Exchange itself is it's not even 70 years old yet. So one of the things with a young market like ours is it's great to take an instance from the more developed markets, like for example, on the New York Stock Exchange, and use some of their metrics that are tried and proven and apply it to our own exchange, you know? So that's a great example. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you so much, Jordan, for your extensive research, your insight, your presentation. And then I think I'll be moving into Christoph, I believe, to head into but before even that, sorry guys, you know, we had another presentation that we had lined up for you with Mr. Alwyn Wayne, who's actually CEO of WePay Caribbean. And he was supposed to be here and provide his presentation, but technical difficulties just did not allow for that this evening. So I want to really apologize to you guys for that. But we'll be moving steadily along once again. All right. So let's get back once again into the giveaways. Vanessa. Vanessa or
Christopher.
Okay, Christopher, right.
Okay, so we are back. I want to thank every single one of you guys for making it this far into the presentations and panel discussion. And for that, we have one more extra giveaway that is actually sponsored by the previous Young Investors Club president, Mr. Damari McCoy. But before we get into that, we'll get into these first two giveaways. So the first one was the commenting on the latest post, and this is our winner. We have GeoLewin .jm. Congratulations. What we'd like for you to do is to message us directly on the page so that you may receive your prize. For the other giveaway, this is the $50 prize for the person who brought in the most persons for like for coming to the presentation. So for the person who was sent to this meeting, we want you to write your name, write their name in the comment section. Come on, guys, write the person's name who brought you here so that they may be able to like win the prize. All right. Okay, so based on the frequency of the chat, for now we're seeing Ashley as the person who is leading for that, and I'd like to end it there. So we have Ashley Onfroy winning the prize for the most persons invited to this event. The third and final giveaway that we have is from the previous president of the Young Investors Club. He is actually starting out his own business, which is a direct result from his endeavors in his own investments. So the first person to follow this page, theway.ve, will win a gift certificate from the president of the 2019-2020 Young Investors Club exec body. And that is pretty much it for the giveaways. The first person to win will be contacted, and we'll let them get their prize. Thank you, and back to you, Justin.
Okay, that was excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, big up to all of our winners today for the presentations. Once again, big up to Wave or The Wave, previous president of the Young Investors Club, his business, patronized if you guys can or have the time. Once again, I think this was really an eventful and informative forum that we had brought here today. We had some great people, some great people from different organizations, from different countries across the region. I think we really learned a whole lot today. And I'd just like you guys to, continue supporting the Young Investors Club, UWI, and all the other organizations that were here present today. You can follow up with them on social media. I'm sure you can find them either directly from the organizers of the event or just based on the names, find them on social media, and you can continue onwards to benefit or ask him any personal questions if you guys would like to some more, right? So further on from then, I just like to say once again, I was really appreciated in being here. I've learned a lot myself, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Ashley?
Thank you so much for that, Justin. And thank you everyone for being here. We actually have the professional or the official vote of thanks by the Deputy Vice President of Finance for UWI Mona. Her name is Vanessa Swaby. So I'm going to invite Vanessa to come and do the vote of thanks, and then I'll just close it off with a little something. So don't leave, guys. Don't leave. Vanessa is going to come and give the vote of thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Ashley. Good evening, everyone. I deem it a great privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks in this occasion. On behalf of the organizers of this event, UWI Mona and the Young Investors Club, we extend a hearty vote of thanks to the honorable delegates who blessed us with a riveting discussion on integrational wealth, championing in Caribbean investments, and for those who took out valuable time out of your busy schedule. I would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Leo Titus Prevail, Simona Watkins, Melinda Bell, and Mr. Julian Morrison, and our presenter, Mr. Jordan Luck. Thank you for making an excellent presentation and making this seminar interesting and meaningful. I would like to extend our profound gratitude to all persons on this call for their presence in this seminar. It was a great session, and as we now have an understanding on integrational wealth, championing Caribbean investment. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, Vanessa. Well, I guess after that, I need not say much, but I really just want to personally come here and thank everyone for being here this evening, especially a huge shout out to the ambassadors and ambassador designates of UWI Mona, and not only UWI Mona, because as you know, this is a regional forum. I want to say a special thank you to the ambassadors from UWI Cave Hill, from UWI St. Augustine, and UWI Open Campus who have made this a forum possible. I also want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the members of the UWI Young Investors Club. We really, really appreciate you guys coming together with us to make this a reality. Thank you so much to everyone that was here this evening. Thank you to everyone that shared a post, that shared a video. Thank you to those who, encouraged us to push on. Thank you so much to Jordan. Jordan, big of yourself. You did an amazing job. I'm really proud of you. I'm sure we all learned. And we can tell that you're going to do wonderful things in the future. And I also want to thank all our panelists as well. It really was just an exceptional evening. We learned quite a lot. I feel like I can just go and invest right now. So I'm happy for everyone that was here. Thank you for sharing, and go and follow us on our social media pages. And of course, I have to put in a plug for the entire week of activities. As you know, UWI Mona is celebrating CARICOM week this week. We had a church service on Sunday. We had the Caribbean cuisine brunch. Yesterday, we had the Pen Pal Games evening. Today, we were on CVM at sunrise in the morning. And now we're here with the Regional Investment Forum. We have CARICOM Family Feud. Tomorrow, we have the CARICOM 101 with Professor Hilary Beckles on Thursday. And on Friday, we will be announcing the Culinary Challenge winners. So thank you, everyone, for being here. I really, really am very, very, very grateful to everyone here, and just, continue to champion integration. This week our theme is We Are West Indians, many countries, one Caribbean. And that's very true. We're from various islands, various Caribbean countries, but at the end of the day, we are united by the fact that we're all West Indians. So continue to play your part. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and have a great evening. Thanks again, everyone.
Looking for we to frame. I can see and take the blame. Up against the wall again. Girl, I can feel it in my heart. Yeah. Feel it in my soul. And I can feel when we're apart. And I want you to know when I'm with you. You're all I need. You're taking over me. And I would never leave. Baby, why can't you come on and let us play? When are you going to come my way? What sort of things they've been telling you? I got to stop
I'm not a fool. Know what I'm doing. I've been to school. Keep a firm grip on what you own. She's more valuable than a pot of gold. I'm gonna take.
Party mash up again. Hey, hey, girl them bubbling. Hey, hey, bring all your friend them. Hey, 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 yeah. Party mash up again. Hey, hey, girl them bubbling. Hey, hey, bring all your friend them. Hey, hey, everybody drinking. Hey, hey, yeah. Who cares what they thinking? Hey, hey, beer vibes, beer vibes, beer vibes, beer vibes, beer vibes. Everybody singing. Oh, we don't have no behavior. Total disorder. Don't cross the border. Don't cross the border. Bartender, hurry up with my order. Boy, the whole place get turned over. Can't play mass if you're afraid powder. Everybody know every time we touch down is splinters. Dance mash up. Fine, fine, fine. Yo, Holland pull up. Mash it, mash it. Fine, fine, fine. Every man put your hand up. Every girl start whining is splinters. Dance mash up. Fine, fine, fine. Yo, Holland pull up. Mash it, mash it. Fine, fine, fine. Every man put your hand up. Every girl start whining. No, they can't drink like we. None of them can fit like we. Can't have energy like we. Full of something that's that wine. Do dig no scene if a drunken thing. No stush vibes, no modeling. Pure bacchanal, pure reveling. Every gal just start to wine Panama no look back at him. Pull on selector, pull it up again. Lost my friend, them I can't find them. But that ain't nothing, I still singing the anthem. Oh, we don't have no behavior. No, I don't know what name behavior. Right now drinks flowing like water. I see me cup run it over. I wobbling with me head on my shoulder. Party time, we say what name sober. We staggering, the man again, trouble again. So let we sing again. Boy, we don't have no behavior. Total disorder. Don't cross the border. Boy, don't cross the border. Bartender, hurry up with my order. Boy, the whole place get turned over. Can't play. Soca Kingdom, Soca Kingdom, Kingdom. Who ready? We now start. Get ready, day. Set a bong start. Meet we on the way. We lining up, ready to charge ahead. Forward is not.